Okay, so this is the LD-002H power supply plugged into the wall, not turned on. The power supply itself is getting power from the wall. And so it's even though the unit is turned off, even though the front button on the machine is turned off, it's still generating the 27 volt channel, and with no load on it, it's really almost 30 volts, 29.8 volts. That's because there's no load on the output. You need at least a tiny bit of load on an output to before a lot of power supplies need at least a tiny bit of load on the output before they work right. So that's kind of artificial when there's zero load. So now I will turn on the machine, and I have to be careful here. So in order to put the meter leads, clip the meter leads onto the 27 volt channel and then in the ground, this little door is flipped up, exposing the terminals, and these two are wall power, so those are hot. Really, this one's hot. So that's the one part that I can't let anything touch. So if I go to the front panel, and use the clean vat, touch the number, just type any big number. It maxes out at 200, so you just type any couple of numbers that makes it higher than that, and it'll just give you 200. Now that will turn the light on for 200 seconds, and now that there's load on the 27 volt line, I'm reading 27.7 volts. Now, I happen to be just about bottomed out on the bottom of its range right now. So I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. I'll shut up. I'm going to turn this thing and I'll shut up. With the fan going, and my furnace behind me turning on and off, it may be hard to hear, but the little adjustment pot does click faintly when you go past its range in the bottom or the top. And it happens to be bottomed out right now, so if I turn counterclockwise, I'll get one faint click per revolution. Let's see if I can get closer here. Hopefully you can hear this. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. Too much other stuff is going on. I can hear it with my in-person. Hear that? Right there. Right there. So I'm going counterclockwise and I'm already at the bottom, which means I'm maxed out, and it's clicking once per turn. Alright, and it's reading 27.5 volts. Now, if I go the other way and start going clockwise, it takes 30 whole turns to go to the top of the range to start clicking again. And over the course of 30 turns, this will only go up 1 volt. It goes from about 27.7 to 28.7 for my machine. Somebody else's, your machine, slightly different. Alright, I'm turning it clockwise now. Oh, hold on. It's a flathead screwdriver, and when I don't look at it, it's easy to have the screwdriver fall off the screw head. So I'm turning it clockwise again. Still turning, no clicks yet. There we go, now I'm clicking. 28.2 volts. Alright, I'm clicking right now as I go clockwise once per turn. Click. Alright. And now, since the light turned off, the 200 seconds ran out, it's back up to 29.8 volts. So, that explains the mystery of that. So, it's supposed to be 27 volts. It's not even supposed to... I can't even go all the way down to 27 volts, let alone lower. But that's it. It's just... I had been saying that this power supply, that the channel 2 was 24 to 27, but it's just 27. So I think someone else maybe on the group had a different model power supply that had that, or I don't know where I got that idea anymore, sorry. But this one at least is clear enough. It just has 2 channels. Oh, there's the thing right there. That must be where I got the idea. Look at that, channel 2, 24 volt to 27 volt. The model number just says 12 volt and 27 volt. But look at this, look at the specs here. It says channel 2, 24 to 27. Well, I don't know where the 24 comes from, because I've had this cover off, and by the way, I guess I can show you that. To get the cover off is just one screw, that screw right there. No other screws. There's a screw under there, don't do it. That screw is just for the heat sinks on a couple of transistors right there. There's a screw right there, don't do that one. That's just for the heat sink on those 2 transistors. This one screw here unlocks this whole thing, and it pulls back. You pull it back a little bit, and then this part can come up like that. There's just a little tab there, a little tab there, and a little hook that hooks in right there. So you just undo that one screw, this thing pulls back, and you can get it, and you can look around inside there. There's no other adjustments. So maybe there is a replaceable part that's, maybe there's a jumper somewhere that I missed that's a configuration jumper, not a jumper that you would move. I mean a jumper like where the manufacturer would choose to solder a wire or not, or a 0 ohm resistor sometimes. So maybe I don't know, maybe the board's configurable, but there's no other adjustments, as in like a user, there's no other adjustment pots, so I don't know where the 24 volts comes from, but it's just 27. And as you can see, it only went from 27.7 to 28.2. So if you really want to adjust the LED power, more than a tiny little bit, then I guess you really do need a standalone voltage regulator. I think they make PWM modules too, where it's not a voltage regulator, it's the same voltage, but it's PWM. It'll turn on and off real fast. I think they have those too as standalone little modules, but they also have voltage regulators, little buck converters that are cheap, small, simple to use. And they would go on this line right here between the power supply and the LED. So that's that.